Blessed be Jah.
Rastafari is last the first living. Yes, we are who manifest
These words of our mouth and meditation of our heart, accepting in thy sight, O Jah. Yes, that's the first strength in the name of live with the outside man labor. Blessed be Jah.
Rastafari is last the first living.
Greetings in the name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. This afternoon, I have the pleasure of once again speaking with Dr. Abuna Foxe. Today we'll be discussing the Rastafarian Movement in 2014 and beyond. Abuna Foxe is the overseer of the Church of Haile Selassie I. He's also the international president of the Imperial Ethiopian World Federation. The Abuna is also the commander of the Star of Honor of Ethiopia and the official liaison for the Ethiopian Crown Council. Good afternoon, Abuna.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Thanks for speaking with me once again. You know, our last interview we discussed and went over a few things, and you know, I think it was very informative, and I just really wanted to get a chance to interview you again to discuss a few more questions that I had about the Rastafarian Movement. Thank you so much for sitting down and speaking with me today. It's an honor.
Appreciate that, His Majesty.
His Majesty. Basically, Abuna, just to pick up where we left off, where do you see the Rastafarian Movement in North America in 2014?
I see the Rastafarian Movement in North America like the days of Moses liberating the people of Israel from Egyptian imperialism. Those who came out of Egypt did not went into Palestine because of their behavior. Those who went into Palestine because of their behavior, they have to accept that they have to change or born again. But in the Rasta movement is that we look at a national redemption leading to washing of regeneration. First, the Rasta man in North America violated his Imperial Majesty laws. He turned the God into shame and he profaned the Haile Selassie I by his behavior, the lax and undesirable behaviors. Because of that, a national redemption would have to come to them for them to survive the 21st century. Which is the washing of regeneration, in baptism. Within the Rasta movement, Rasta is that baptism is a new birth. Where Ezekiel 36:22-20 identify I spring clean water in you, wash off your filthy and your abomination. I put a new heart in you, it should be my people, and that I will be your God. That was being offered to the Rastafarian people in North America through the Church of Haile Selassie I was commissioned to offer them that. The one works in initiation within church is a born again, and that one will get the opportunity to live on the estate of Haile Selassie I whenever the economic liberation and restoration of the dynasty of Haile Selassie I return. The ones them who is not a part of the church will be like a man who lost his arm, his right arm. Why? Because personalities and different kism will distort his mentality. And what will happen to him is that when they know God, them stop working as God. Because of what they have become dark of the evil imagination, they profess to be wise when they are foolish. Those are the ones who reject the national redemption and the regeneration of the community of Rasta in North America. This is the opportunity they get to redeem themselves. If not, God and His record their judgment. Because it's been my mother's fault, 75. Leave the scene and say, I will not leave you comfortless. I will send comfort to you that bring back all the remembrance. The comfort of His Majesty is the utterance of His last the first.
Okay.
Him say tradition and custom have to be modified to ensure the continuity of our people. That is what is being said to the Latin American Rastafarian. To break up their folly grounds and accept truth. Not personalism, truth.
Okay, Abuna. With that being said, where do you see the movement, let's say in the next decade?
Well, this democracy will not facilitate Rasta objectives because our redemption is not here. Our redemption is Ethiopia. But until liberation, restoration, where we live, we have to live adequately. This democracy will not allow us to develop ourselves. We have to go back to the third world and involve in that development.
Okay, Abuna. Well, as you did bring that up, I might as well ask you this question now. As like, could you give me your take on repatriation?
Well, you see, repatriation is a governmental question. It is also a political question. Since before Advent in Ethiopia, the overthrow of Haile Selassie I government made repatriation is being abbreviated. Without the economic liberation of Ethiopia and restoration of the dynasty of Haile Selassie I, there is no repatriation. And whenever that took place, then the question of the asked to a government and challenge, because let's face it, if you do not have an infrastructure like the Section 8 and a social assistant, like this democracy, it can't afford to have Ethiopian people descend and return to Ethiopia before we can have low-cost house, medical, education facility to facilitate them. Right now Ethiopia have a problem economically, a leadership problem also. If that was to come about, this repatriation that our desire, our passion desire, then it wouldn't work. Because people is not cattle. You have to organize people. And again, I say before again, it's a governmental question. Where the government of Jamaica or the territorial government have to negotiate with Ethiopia on that line. First, you have to build houses for people, you have to build clinic for people, employment, education, and right now that economic is not there. So repatriation Ethiopia is abbreviated until that political change come in Ethiopia and restoration, and then it's a Haile Selassie I.
Because one cannot repatriate under the current government.
Well, the question is that until the restoration of the Haile Selassie I government, then the question of repatriation is not valid, because it's only its Imperial government will entertain a repatriation, and this present government is not the maximum of the government. So that repatriation desire of the Rastafarian people will not come about until a change is come about governmentally. And at the same time, we have to organize among ourselves first with effective leadership to negotiate that question. Because it's not really a social question, it's an economic question. Can it over tonight facilitate 50,000 Rastafarian people in the third world? No.
Wow.
The economics is not there. And we don't have the infrastructure in among ourselves, that organization principle that will allow that. This in the mind is a criteria that we have to look and know to make the move. And I would ask my brethren to make that statement for His Imperial Majesty about discipline of the mind.
Yes. Greetings.
Yeah.
His Imperial Majesty said, discipline of the mind is a basic ingredient of genuine morality and therefore of spiritual strength. Spiritual power is the eternal guide in this life and the life after, for man ranks supreme among all creatures led forth by spiritual power. We must stop confusing religion and spirituality. Religion is a set of rules, regulations, and rituals which is supposed to help human beings grow spiritually. But due to human imperfection, religion has become corrupt, political, and a divisive tool for power struggle. And spirituality is not theology or ideology. It is a simple, natural way of life, pure and original, as was given by the Most High. It is a network linking us to the Most High, the universe, and each other. Blessed be Jah.
Rastafarian Selassie I.
That statement demonstrated that it's our responsibility as a people to have a discipline of mind that can focus on leadership, aims and objective, and other program.
Okay. All right. Abuna, it's noted, you know, that you didn't just start the struggle yesterday. You've been fighting, you know, for Rasta rights, fighting the Rasta struggle, Rasta activists for over 50 years. Who inspired? Like, who was your inspiration coming up? Who was your mentor?
My mentor was Brother Ebert. But my inspiration come toward this political aspiration from 1960. As a young Rastafarian, I realized that repatriation, Rastafarianism is not sufficient. I realized that a man is a political animal, he must establish an organism that can foster development. When I studied Rastafarian Movement in Jamaica, then 2 years after we abolished the Rasta emerging, he come in Jamaica, we Basta ban out of protest. The Church Haile Selassie I as the only legal entity within the Rastafarian Movement worldwide to preach the doctrine of the brotherhood of man, brotherhood of God, Haile Selassie as God. AD 23-25, the pandemic was legitimized by Constantine. So it's a future for the Rastafarian people. 2013 is, we just believe, is recognized and legitimized.
Wow.
We can mark people, which we do. We can bless children, which we do. We bury people, which we do. These are important for the Rastafarian people. And we have holy days that we celebrate and worship. Fastica, the 5th of May. The Passover, we remember the Battle of Adwa. We remember 35-41. And give thanks to God Rastafari through that day, Fastica. We have Negos Day, where his Imperial Majesty as Rastafari get him second to last baptism. 22nd November, 2nd November, it was his last initiation, where he become God among men. So all these days is reverend and worship. Rastafari starts the first, but in Rastology. The Christian the 7th of January, we observe it as Ethiopian people. And not being Orthodox, we do not worship at that day, that Christ born on that day. But as Ethiopian people, we observe it as how we observe 10th of December living in the United States of America. We don't worship that Christ born on Christmas Day. But we observe it because we are here.
Okay. All right. You discussed now that Rasta, has been legitimized through Parliament in Jamaica, Abuna. Can you please explain why is it that politics is important to the Rastaman of 2014?
Well, as I said before, Rasta born out of protest, political protest. And what we say again is that if Jamaica is a parliamentary democracy, then Rastafarian people must have a voice as a matter within that democracy. The hungry being fed, make it clothed, the sick nourished, the infant cared for, is Rastaism. R-A-S-T-F-A-R-I, the subject. The A-N-S is the people. And the I-S-M is the aims and objective. Rastaism. the right to go parliament, right to involve in Jamaica economic, political, and religious development as a people, because we are an integral part of the nation. 1838 we were there. 1830 we were there.
Is there a voice in Parliament to speak on behalf of Rasta right now?
No, that is sad, because as a democracy, Russia should have a voice in Parliament, and independent candidates should be elected by Parliament. I believe that the Constitution of Jamaica could be ratified that the opposition and the present central government leadership, which is Professor Simpson, and the opposition leader, the Labour Party, could meet and discuss the question of an independent candidate from the Rastafarian community. It is a democracy, giving the Rastafarian people the first time the right to actively participate in the development of Jamaica. Because regardless of our Ethiopian redemption, we are still Jamaican nationals. Okay. And we have that right to involve in Jamaica development, irrespective of our Ethiopian redemption. It doesn't come in any problem. No, we are sovereign of Ethiopia, but we are Jamaican national. And the question, so our survival depends on our active participation in the Parliament of Jamaica and our rights as a people.
Okay. You did mention Jamaica as a democracy, and as Jamaica being a democracy, are you a Democrat, Abuna?
No, I'm not a Democrat, I'm a theocrat.
Oh wow. What is, could you explain, for some may not know, what is the difference between a Democrat and a theocrat? Could you explain?
Democracy, it was something that actually said in Greece a long time ago. When it comes to the West, it changed the essence from essential principle. One can use democracy to allow a man to marry the next man, the rights of the individual, woman to marry the next woman. At the same time, one expert of expression in democracy, where can disrespect people, because association, all those things, one become a communist through democracy. But a theocrat now is a man who accepts 1931, 16th of July, it was constitutional given to us by his Imperial Majesty I, which means God, government came on earth. I shall represent the Christ, the Messiah, and anointed one. And then give a constitution to the people without any constraint on him. And that has been a theocracy where God, the king, was elected by God to give the people a new way of life. And I would say 1 year, 1 month before the mass of Bolshevikism, 1917 October, Rastafari led the base of government in Ethiopia known as modern Ethiopianism. 9/27, 1916, 27 September, that was established. So if I accept His Imperial Majesty as my God and my King, then I have to be a theocrat. I couldn't be a Democrat. Okay. And if I was to think as the honored man, I would be a conservative. Because God is a conservative. He couldn't be a Democrat or a socialist. Okay. I'll be that honestly.
Okay, Abuna. Could you briefly give me your take on communism?
Well, if I was to accept communism and become romantic, I would be a Christian who betrayed the trust that Jesus Christ was crucified. And if I was a Christian, I could not love the Romans. 74, it was a communist conspiracy undermined them going to Haile the first. Mingish too, and them colleagues were communists. So, to be a communist and accept communism as an individual, then if I was a Christian, I would betray the trust of Jesus Christ. It was Rome crucified Jesus Christ. How could I love a Roman if I was a Christian who accept the Christian faith?
Sure.
So how could I love communism when Haile Selassie as the first government?
Sure.
I couldn't be a communist. Could never. Because to me, I don't say the Democrat different from the communist. All of them are socialists. And fight against the Labour government of Haile Selassie the first. Because 74 they were all there. All the major powers in Ethiopia 74 when it took place. Everybody was there. Russia, America, Britain, France, Germany. They could have stopped it. They could have. Was that an interest? They could have stopped it. But again, I'm not going that kind of politics today.
Okay. All right, Abuna. Seeing that you're a theocrat, if you were to, let's just say, for argument's sake, if you were to ever run for a governmental office, what political party would you run under?
We'll have to run under the Imperial Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated. It was given to us by the Imperial Majesty, 37. And we contest 3 elections. And I'm supposed to run for independence, then have to run on that banner, that ticket.
Okay. If you were to be elected to an office, what would be your objectives?
We'll study the Rastafarianism in Jamaica. Our objective will be working for a social change like low-cost house, clinic, school, employment. These are the fundamental issues because within our Rastafarian creed, only being fed is farming, the sick nourished is clinic, the protected is low-cost house. All these objectives I would represent in Parliament. But I believe that for us to get those 2 objectives working, we have to have more than 1 seat in Parliament. And that's the challenge today. The Rastaman historically, because the hate of colonialism and reject politics. And my generation introduced politics in the Rasta movement 1960 to know it couldn't grow to the effect that would have X amount of Rasta membership that we contest Parliament. The constituents that we contest Parliament in would have over 10,000 Rasta to ensure a seat. So the struggle of the land itself now, we're talking about the poor people, the grassroots people. We have to do something meaningful to attract the grassroots people. That the eventuality of the contest would not to depend on Rasta alone in the constituency, would depend upon other people, those that have just and aggression. And if I Parliament, then I put emphasis on those 4 objectives. Housing, hungry be fed, farming, sick care for, medical, survival of the individual, housing. It's there. You can see it with the naked eye. Because while speaking to you right now, a lot of Rastafarian people in Jamaica can't afford to have a Sunday dinner. Can't afford to send son to school when school open. Can't afford to go to a clinic to get health checkup. All these things there. And this is why we have to go political. The Rasta must have a man in Parliament to discuss all these questions.
It's a great answer, Abuna. Thank you so much. Basically, in the Ethiopian tradition, the church is the center of every Ethiopian's life.
Yeah.
It's so basically any Rasta that accept Ethiopian tradition must accept the church.
Most, because you see, it's an indigenous belief. The word church, C-H-U-R-C-H. When he went and met his father in Jerusalem, he was initiated and become king, and were initiated to fulfill 1 King 31 to 40 because of the transition of his father, Solomon. The I am said he will take the kingdom from him, but he will keep a tribe to establish the covenant with his man father David. And that tribe came through Mary the First, son of King Solomon and Queen of Sheba. And that man took upon us the Christ, the Messiah, anointed one. When he leave to Jerusalem and to go with the Ark of the Covenant, Solomon have a victory on him, saw the cloud and the sun moved over Israel. The sun was the Ark of the Covenant. Went into the Ark of the Covenant, he took 3,000 daughters of Zion and most of the sons of the religious hierarchy. And in Ethiopia, it was worshipped as God, the Christ, the Anointed One, and the Messiah. From that time to this time, Rastafarian accept that as indigenous. We have to have a temple to worship. We couldn't worship in the bush. So we made a structure. And that structure is the church of Haile Selassie I. And what we expect for is that before Solomon built the temple, the tribe of Israel have the prerogative to worship in the my altar, in Bathsheba, Rama, Bethel. When Solomon built the temple, those altars cease to exist and assimilate within the temple of Solomon. We shall become the first high priest of Israel. The Rastafarian people today should go back and do their homework and understand, say, tradition and custom to be modified. There must be modification where we stop with the word church because it's struggle against the conqueror of faith. We have to accept our church because the church is where become the center life of the Ethiopian people.
When you read history on
And the church is where God love to be.
United Nations.
And if you're going to get a recognition as a religious body in this kind of time, then we have a place of worship. Long ago we were nomads, but today we are city dwellers. Because if you have to have a temple or a church in the city, we can worship God in spirit and truth. His Majesty.
Majesty. You know, like you did say, Rasta burn church, you know, and I more or less they burn church because of the doctrine of that particular time.
Yes.
Is that correct? So why do you think it's so hard today for the other houses to accept the church of Haile Selassie I and the doctrine of Haile Selassie I, even though it was commissioned by His Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie I himself?
Well, let's understand the Rastafarianism is a heterogeneous movement by the Christian faith. You have Baptists, you have Jehovah's Witness, you have Seventh-day Adventists, you have Anglican, the body speak of Jesus Christ, but their operation is different. We should not compare ourselves with those denominations because we are Ethiopian people, we are Abyssinian. But understand that people is afraid of what they doesn't understand. And the Rastafarian, our predecessors, killed church. But our generation born after 1930 and today 2014 should accept the role the church play, because I must put emphasis on this. It was not in the bush that His Imperial Majesty become the Godhead. It was in a temple, the cathedral,
That's right.
in Addis Ababa, that on Sunday, the first of the week. And if we went for His Majesty footstep and worship God in spirit and truth, we have to accept the church, because the place of the Most High God is the church legitimized Haile Selassie I as the Godhead. It's the most church Him used to reveal Himself to the world. And if Him when become the first high priest of Israel through hereditary concept, they have to have a structure. When Him say, today when I say, those that have ear, let him hear what the Spirit said to the church. The church is the people who is into this program. And the Spirit is I, the individual is speaking. So the rest of it break him for the ground. Understand, say, the scripture is the directive we should follow. Because the scripture shows Haile Selassie is God.
True.
Chronicles 7, 2 Chronicles 7:10 established the birthday of Haile Selassie I. 20 and 30 of the 7th month. Isaiah 9:6 established the son who was given Tafari, Rastafarian Selassie I. Where would these things generate itself?
The government should be
In a church. So the Rastan today must be afraid of church anymore. No, it was used.
Yes, Abuna. Well, thank you very much, Abuna, for taking the time out once again and speaking with me this afternoon. And once again answering some more questions that I had. And I'm sure a lot of people out there also might have wanted to ask you if they could themselves. You know? Once again, thank you.
Yeah, I'll come back next time, you know.
Hopefully next time I could interview you in Jamaica by the school.
When the church opened between July and August this year, you could interview me
Alright, so
in Cathedral Home in Jamaica.
one thing that I think we'll do that.
These words of our mouth and teaching of what makes him in that sight of Jah was strength to Redeemer. We don't know it in the hearts of man forever. Yes, we Jah
Rastafari is Selassie first living.
Majesty.
Imperial Majesty.
Thanks to Brother Bert again.
Thank you, Abuna.
Rastafari.
Majesty.
Because every single thing he said in his prophecy came true. And the last one, which is about the Western people now, America, the new Egypt, is going to fall. And we have to believe that right there because the true economic system we see it break down already. That's why Acts 2, verse 21 says, you see when you come to the church is not just only a church. The church is also a community center. Understand? The Rasta people and those who believe that God is a man. Understand? But it's also a health area where you teach one about their body and the naturalness of it and how to cleanse it. It's a center for the doctors to come to and talk about their issues. A center for the brethren to come to talk to the idem and the priest them. It's something that can be changed. Change a one and to make a one realize the true being in themselves. If they see this verse right here, Acts 2 verse 21, it says, and it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name Tafari, Rastafari, Emperor Haile Selassie I, the Lord shall be saved. I see that right there, people think it's a Christian term. But we, the Christian church and pastors first. See when you get baptized, that's not it, that's not mission isn't done there. The say that we're talking about is, you see when you realize that God is man, it's when you realize that you have to give full homage to Empire to the first, then when you read his utterance and his books and the things that he wants to do for people and humanity, it's going to change you. No matter how wicked you are, or if you believe in God at first, after you've done read utterance of the emperor and truly believe in him, have to truly believe in God, it's going to change because we talk about all the time that you can't just have faith and don't have works. Faith and works go together, they go hand in hand. That's right.
At the end of the day, yes, the emperor is the true living God. But that don't mean that he's going to do every single thing for us. Sure. When we was born with hands and feet. The brain.